Thank you very much, Ms. Evelyn Serrano, for your extravagant introduction. In the last part, Evelyn made me sound like different kinds of animals, and thereby implies that I could probably be called a zookeeper. Previously, Dean Raul Pangalangan told you that he was one of my students in political law, and he also told me when I arrived that this is final exam time in UP College of Law. That is why there is a funereal silence in the college. People are either studying or going way over to Manila near Malacanang to pray to Saint Jude, the patron saint of the hopeless. I give Raul, for his complimentary language in my favor this morning, a grade 1.0. And I promise to talk to President Aquino about your potential membership in the Supreme Court. After all, there are so many other justices seated there who belong to the wrong law school. You know that I'm always very fond of genies in bottles. So although I was abroad, I made haste to come back home when I heard of the floods in Kalumpit, Bulacan. Sure enough, when I walked along the banks of the river, I saw a bottle and inside was a genie. When I opened the bottle, the genie said, "Don't make 3 wishes, just make 1. I'm undernourished. And I'm suffering because of the Eurozone crisis in Europe and the possible double-dip recession in the United States. So just one request. Of course, as a student of international affairs, I said immediately, give me peace in the Middle East, particularly now that Muammar Gaddafi is said to have been killed. That shouldn't be very difficult." And he said, "But this crisis has been going on for centuries. I do not have the energy reserves to solve that kind of crisis." So I said, well, if you cannot give me peace in the Middle East, make the Philippine Senate stop its so-called inquiries in aid of legislation. Because number 1, no such inquiry, no matter how scandalous, and no matter how lengthy its TV coverage, has ever resulted in any substantial legislation. So it does not serve its constitutional purpose. Number 2, when these senators conduct their investigations, they are brazen about their ignorance of the rules of court. That should be a crime in itself. To display your ignorance unabashedly and with full confidence just because you are wearing a Western suit speaks of the mentality that sometimes, I'm afraid, dominates the Philippine Senate. Number 3, these senators are serving not as senators of the Republic when they're conducting these so-called public hearings on television. They're serving as subordinates of fiscals. Because when they end their investigations, all that they can possibly do is make a recommendation to the office of the Ombudsman. And the Ombudsman simply assigns it to one of her prosecutors or people we used to call fiscals. So, in effect, therefore, the proceedings of any Senate investigation has no weight in our judicial system. It's zero capability for judging what justice should be administered. We are acting, in effect, when we conduct these scandalous hearings, a fiesta of legal ignorance. We are conducting, in effect, preliminary work for the preliminary investigation of an ordinary fiscal. That's what we're doing. But you cannot stop these senators because, as I've said on another occasion, the process of legislation is not telegenic. You don't want to see us studying our papers, delivering academic or theoretical or well-researched analysis on the present conditions that beset our country. Dean Pangalangan mentioned that he was present when I delivered my sponsorship speech on the International Criminal Court, particularly the Rome Statute. And when I tried to defend it during the debates, that is to say, during the period of interpellation from my colleagues, he described my demeanor at that time as firm and gracious. That is not true. I was not firm, I was angry. That I was being subjected to the humiliation of interpellation by idiots. And I was not gracious, I was homicidal. I wanted to kill them with my bare hands. How dare you impugn the wisdom of decades of the brightest minds in the whole judicial system of the entire planet after reading only 10 minutes in your offices. Well, I will never stop these comments, but I will tell you that when the Genie heard I wanted the Senate to stop these legislative investigations, he said immediately, huh? Stop the televised public hearings of the committees in the Senate and even in the House of Representatives? I'd rather bring peace to the Middle East. Yan ang kaya ko. Hindi ko na talaga kaya yung Senado, kaya pupunta na lang sana ako sa The Hague, where I will probably be expelled.